Tell us about iNaturalist.
Okay. Thank you, Wendy, for that introduction. Yeah, hopefully I do all those things that you said I was going to do justice. I know Wendy did a little introduction, but I'm Harriet. I work in the Green Spaces team at Barnet Council. So I'm an ecologist, but my title is Biodiversity and Conservation Officer. There is also another ecologist at Barnet Council who works in the planning department. So he's mainly assessing planning applications in terms of their impact on the environment. But yeah, I work in the Green Spaces team. I'm going to talk today about environmental data. How do I? Oh, so I've just got a bit of background. Sorry, it's a bit depressing, but basically, the UK is one of the most nature depleted countries on Earth. And I want to talk about environmental data because it's really important to kind of monitor species, where those trends are going, abundance, diversity, and although it feels like this is a massive issue and it's all doom and gloom, environmental recording is something that we can all do as citizen scientists, and the data can be really helpful and could be used in lots of different ways, which I'll go into. One of those ways is policy and a kind of new. We used to have biodiversity action plans, and now they're being replaced with local nature recovery strategies. So there is one due to be published any day for London. So that includes all the London boroughs, and that's being coordinated by the Mayor of London, the GLA. And a lot of the data that's been used to write this has come from citizen scientists and environmental data submitted by residents of London. So there is, although it might seem like a few observations that you might be recording in your local area, it does feed into these kind of like bigger strategies and policy documents. Giggle, that stands for Green Spaces Information for Greater London, work very closely with the London boroughs and the Mayor, the GLA. They are the Environmental Record Centre for London. So there will be an Environmental Record Centre for all different areas of the UK. But for London, it's Giggle. And when I say Giggle, I'm referring to Green Spaces Information for Greater London, and they are the data centre for London. So they hold all the environmental records.
So I'm just going to pause you there, Harry. I just want to
Sure.
check it is recording. I've got pause recording at the top. Ted, are you able to see? Like maybe we
It
both
is
clicked it wrong.
according to what it says on my screen, it is recording.
Okay, fine. So it just might be on my end that it says it's paused. Okay. If it's not recording, all you lucky people are the only ones that are going to hear Harriet. So
I can always do it again.
do it again.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, Giggle Green Space Information for Greater London. They collect all the environmental data. This is just a little graph of the kind of data that they've got, the species data, and the proportions. And London Borough of Barnet Council has a service level agreement with Giggle, as do I think 30 out of the 32 London boroughs. And that is, we pay a fee every year and we have a free data exchange. They hold and analyze our data for us. We submit data to them, and we all work together basically. This is just a little fact file that Giggle do for us every year. It has a little summary of Barnet, who the data has come from, what kind of data has been submitted, habitat data, species data, things like that. So that's the kind of information that Giggle hold. Sorry, my slides are really uninspiring and boring and look like this, but environmental data, as I mentioned, can be used in many different ways, and these are ways that I have seen it used. So it can be used in research, shaping policy, like the local nature recovery strategy. Environmental data can be used to inform site management. It can be used to monitor species over time, like abundance, diversity, things like that. And a really important one, it can be used in planning applications. So, if there's a development proposed that requires ecological surveys to be done, the applicant should get all of the relevant environmental data from Giggle as part of their desk study. And they will get data from the last 10 years. It might be data about bats, badgers, protected species, habitats. And then that should be used in the planning process to assess the impact of that development. So that's quite a tangible outcome, I suppose. If you're recording in your local area, your data will be used in that planning process if a development is proposed. We have had a few cases recently where there's been a planning application and people have written to us and said, but what about this population of X or this badger that uses the site or something like that? And we have worked very hard to get the data directly to the record center, to Giggle, or in some cases to the developer straight directly. But ideally, we don't want to do it like that. Ideally, we want the information to be submitted as and when it's recorded. So yeah, that's just a few uses of environmental data, but there's also a few ways you can get the data to the record center. You can go on Giggle's website and use their recording sheet. That's a big spreadsheet, and you can just put your observations in. Or you can use an app. Like I'm going to talk about iNaturalist, but there are several apps you can use, iRecord, eBird, things like that, that kind of collect different types of data. But I think iNaturalist is by far the easiest to use. And I'm just going to go through a few steps that you have to do to submit an observation and yeah, the kind of process of using the app. So this is the icon for iNaturalist. You can download it from the App Store. It's completely free. Once you've made an account, it's quite important when you're setting up the account that you click that you're happy for the observations to be shared, the data to be shared, and then that will allow the information to then go on to the record center. So these are just some of my observations that I had done at the time of doing these screenshots. So this is the home page, and then you go down. I'm not sure if you can see my mouse, but down to the bottom there's a camera icon, and it says observe. So click that. It will take you to the camera. I'm sorry, I did this example on one of my houseplants, so you've got that as the example. But you go on the camera and then you just take a photo of whatever you want to record. So it can be a bird, a plant, whatever. And then you go through to the next page, and the photo there is at the top that I've taken. Down here at the bottom is all of the kind of auto-populated information, the time, the date, the location. That's all filled in for you. And then you've got this feature that says, what did you see? View suggestions. And that is the AI function of the app, which is getting better and better as time goes on. So you can use the AI function to suggest an identification for the photo you've taken, and it will use things like the photo and the location to suggest an identification. So if you don't know what it is, for example, this one, you could click up here, it just says figs, which is the genus. You can click that and you can leave it at that. And you can submit that, or you can go down to the species level. So weeping fig, that's the species. So yeah, it will use those elements and it will suggest an ID. So for this example, I've just clicked the genus. I've not gone down to species level, and I've clicked share. And then, as you can see, back to the home page, that observation is then there at the top as a fig. I'm going to use the observation below, the violet ground beetle, to go through the kind of review and verification process that is within the app. So yeah, these are all my observations. You can see at the side, I'm sorry, it's quite small, but you can see there's a little speech bubble on the right-hand side there. And that is other users going in to look at my observations and verify them. So for this top one, the violet ground beetle, I saw that in Scotland. I didn't know what it was. I took a photo. The AI function, I left it at genus level. And then these circled on the right here are other users of the app who have obtained a certain grade within the app have come in and suggested a species ID, and more than one person can come in and do this. And it's kind of a way of QAing the data and verifying that your ID is correct. So the main point I want to make with this app is that you can't go wrong with it. Even if you make an incorrect suggestion of the ID, someone will come in and suggest what they think it is based on the picture. If you get it wrong, someone will correct you. You know, you can't go wrong with it. Which is, like I said, the main point that I want to stress with this. This is an example of where I saw a common spotted orchid. I knew it was a common spotted orchid. I took it down to that species level. As I saw it, someone's come in. They've confirmed it was a common spotted orchid. And then down here at the bottom, it says casual grade, which is when I submit it, needs ID, which is when it's waiting for verification, and then research grade, which is when that person's come in, looked at my ID, looked at the picture, and said, yeah, that's what it is. So that's kind of the QA process within the app. Back to the home page, some more features of the app. It's pretty self-explanatory, and if you're going to go on to use this, I suggest you just have a go, press the button, see what they do. But this explore button, so this is Hendon as an example, and you can go and explore, and you can look at all the other kind of data points that others have observed in that area. So the different coloured pins just refer to different taxa, so birds, plants, mammals, things like that. So for this example, I just clicked on that blue pin, which is actually next to Hendon Town Hall. And it says, look, that's the pin down there, and it says it was a Dunnock. And again, at the bottom, that's gone from casual grade, needs ID, research grade. So that's been confirmed as a Dunnock. So you can go on where you live, wherever you're interested in, you can see those observations that others have made as well, which is quite interesting. Wendy, did you want to go through the project at this point, or?
Yeah, I think I'll do it because we're good for time. I think I will brave a demo so I can actually share the screen. But we've had another, I think there's another Wendy on the call, which is brilliant. Hello, other Wendy. She's asked a question that's relevant to the where you're at, so we may as well
Okay,
go for it now.
sure.
If you go back a slide, that you've got a tree with a bird in the middle, and Wendy's asked she would like to use iNaturalist for the big bird survey this weekend, which we'll come on to talk about in a moment. But the bird may be small in comparison with the plant tree they are on. Can you specify what you want it to focus on? And I think that's just a perfect example there of how it could try and identify the tree or the bird, but I think it's realised the bird is the centre of the frame, so it's the AI has suggested that it is the Dunnock. Or can you remember when you did that? Did it offer you some plants and some birds?
I will say, as with all AI, it's not perfect. It needs to be taken with a pinch of salt. Sometimes it can throw out IDs that are incorrect. But yes, I mean, it doesn't have to be the best picture. Something like that, it will easily ID. Yeah, it will also pick up the plant as well. So it will just, in those examples previously where it suggests the ID, you just pick whichever one you're looking to record at that time. So it is, yeah, it's not perfect, but it's getting better.
Excellent, thank you. So yeah, what else have you got after the project? And then I will.
Um, I've just got a bit about general citizen science, if you're interested, because obviously using the app iNaturalist is quite a good way to record ad hoc sightings when you're out, when you might want to know the ID of a plant or something like that. But there's plenty of other types of citizen science that you can get involved in. We work with an organization called Earthwatch on some projects. Some of you might have been involved in them previously. They have a list on their website of like nearly 50 citizen science projects that you can get involved in. Again, I'm really sorry about my uninspiring slides, but some examples of citizen science initiatives that I can think of in Barnet are obviously Dave's Clean Air Barnet project with the portable air quality monitors that you can carry on you, and you can record air quality and your personal exposure to poor air quality. We work a lot with Thames 21. They do citizen science programs and training in water quality monitoring. You can kind of get equipment from them to monitor water quality. You can learn how to survey aquatic invertebrates, or you can visit outfalls and assess kind of if they're polluting or not. There really is a massive range of things you could do. The kind of typical wildlife recording, like I've mentioned today, you can get involved in the London Hogwatch project, which is just kind of reporting when you've seen a hedgehog in London, for example. You could do a pollinator survey, which is a specific method. That's using an app, and that's all explained to you in the app. There's a project called the Roadkill Lab. The Road Lab. It used to be called Project Splatter, but when I went to do this slide, I found out that it changed its name to the Road Lab, which is maybe more PC. But that's simply reporting any roadkill that you see, because any data like that is useful, if a bit grim. And then there's also desk-based citizen science that you can do. So there's a website called Mammal Web, and that's basically reviewing camera trap footage. So you can literally go through pictures of mammals on camera traps, and you can say fox or rat or whatever it might be. So that's something you can do, sitting at home, and they've got millions of images that need going through. Zooniverse is one that's kind of global. You can just go on there and it will suggest projects that need citizen scientists to help and how you can help. And again, I don't know whether this counts as citizen science. I think it is, but reporting problems. So if you see pollution, reporting things to Thames Water, that's really, really useful because people can't be out at all places at one time. So getting people to report things like pollution, leaks, that is really, really useful. Same with the Environment Agency. If you see dead fish, pollution, illegal fishing, reporting that on the Environment Agency website is also, I think it's an example of citizen science and how you can do a good thing. You can also report a bird that you might see that has a ring. We've recently started a bird ringing project at the Welsh Harp. So catching the birds, putting ID rings on their legs. And if you see a bird that's got a ring and you can see the number, the reference on the ring, reporting that kind of also really important for species distribution data. So yeah, things that you might not necessarily think of contributing too much are actually really, really important for these kinds of research studies. Um, I think that was pretty much it. I just wanted to mention the Big Garden Bird Watch, which is next week, 23rd to the 25th of January. Again, another really good example of citizen science with the data inputting into really important research. Thank you. That's it from me. Sorry if it was a bit boring, but the main message I want to get over to you, hopefully I have, is that environmental data is really important. It's used for lots of different things, and using an app like iNaturalist, you can't really go wrong with it because of that QA process that's inbuilt with the app. So, yeah, let me know if you've got any questions, or I'll go through the chat,
We've got a few,
whatever
and
you
I'm going to
want.
start at the bottom and work my way up because the last
Okay.
two are kind of relevant to that point that you were just making. I will just answer Wendy's question about, and actually the Birdwatch starts tomorrow. So it's one of the reasons we chose to do this week and this evening was to inspire you all to go out and check for your local birds tomorrow. Again, in your garden or your park. I've done it for the last few years, and it's really nice just to sit and you need an hour to watch what's happening in your local area. And it really made me stop and look. There were certain birds that I assumed were coming to my garden, but when I looked more closely and observed rather than them flitted past, I realised that they were different. I think I thought one was a sparrow and it turned out to be a dunnock. So it's just nice if you have the time, if you are able to make some time this weekend to give that a try. So the question that somebody asked about the data that was relevant to your point about feeding in, Harriet, was who verifies the observations? Is it random people or dedicated to employed by the app?
So, I wouldn't say random people. They're people that have reached a certain like research grade within the app. So that's a certain amount of correct observations. So they're not paid by the app, as far as I know. They're just users, but yeah, they've reached that grade to be a verifier. So yeah, it's not random people, but I mean, there's I've had observations where there's been a bit of a discussion between two verifiers about what the final species ID is when it's maybe a bit more of an unclear picture. Um, but yeah, that's kind of the process. And yeah, to my knowledge, they're not employed directly by the app, but they've reached that level.
I think, and they've done thousands. Like we
Yeah,
we have met someone recently who's done what was it, 60,000 or 70,000, something like that.
yeah.
So they are very ardent users of this app. Okay, I'm going to work up the questions. Dave has asked, how confident are you in the accuracy of the data in Giggle?
So again, Giggle have a kind of verification process. It depends obviously how the data gets to them. So it can get to them through these apps. I iNaturalist, I record eBird, wherever people are making their observations. They have their own QA process. If you submit the data directly to Giggle, it will ask you how sure you are of your observation. It'll ask you for additional information. If you're observing an amphibian, it'll ask you to record the life cycle stage and all these other points that are quite detailed. But they do have their own QA process. Also, if you get the information back from Giggle, you will get all the data that's submitted. So you can go on the spreadsheet, you can look at an individual record, for example, and you can see the data that's been submitted. So I'm not going to say that all the data on there is correct or completely accurate, but there are these QA processes at different stages, and yeah, it's not going to be 100% accurate because they are getting data from all these different places, but um, that's the best we've got.
Yeah, and it's better than 5 people around the country doing something. Having 5 million people around the world doing something and having more data just builds that better picture, doesn't it? So we're all feeding in. Melanie's asked a nice practical question about getting started. Do you need to have an account to use the app?
Yes, I think when you download it, it'll ask you to make an account. But it's just a few simple details before you start recording. And like I said, the app is free, so yeah.
Yeah, like any other app. Maybe if anyone, I'm when I share my screen, I'll talk you through how I found it. Um, I think I did actually first use the app about 5 years ago, and I didn't find it that good at the time, so I paused for 4 years. And then when Harriet started trying to encourage us to use it last year, I picked it back up again, and it really has improved. So I've forgotten what I had to go through to start the account 4 years ago. But if anyone's done it recently and wants to come on and talk through what it was like, please pop your hand up and I'll call you in a moment. We've got another question here, which I think was towards the beginning of your talk, so it might be more kind of policy based. Are householders obliged to maximise biodiversity in simple ways, e.g., having hedges rather than fences on an estate? Would this be a good idea?
Um, I mean, it depends what you mean by obliged. Yes, I mean, it would be great if features like that could be included. I mean, if we're talking about through the obviously I work for the council, I don't really have a lot of influence over what you do in your garden, unless there's a planning application that we get involved in. Um, For example, we've just redone our parks and open spaces strategy, and that is really kind of limited to publicly accessible parks that we manage. So it doesn't really include things like gardens. However, we are going to be doing a local nature recovery plan for Barnet once the London-wide strategy has been published, hopefully imminently. And that will include the importance of things like private gardens, which are really important, especially in London. So yes, anything you can do to increase the biodiversity of your garden, great. No one is obliged to do it, but yes, would definitely encourage things like that.
Excellent. There was a question right at the beginning about how come the UK are behind other countries? Is it simply a lack of data or is it reality? But we had a little bit of chat in the chats. Um, Ted said that it was partly due to the amount of infrastructure needed and farming, so land use, due to the large population on a relatively small area of land. And Dave noted that we have lost most of our ancient woodlands. We have less than 3% left. So I don't know if you want to say anything else particularly about that. How is the UK behind, or are we catching up, or
Yeah, I think. Well, I said that the UK is one of the most nature depleted, and I think that is down to the a lot of the things that you've just mentioned there. So, um, yeah, we've lost, I think, 97% of our hay meadows. So, and like you said, ancient woodlands as well. So, yes, it's down to development, infrastructure, agriculture, land use, um, all of those factors.
if anyone's interested in any more of that, we'll do a little plug at the end about coming along to some Barnet Friends of the Earth meetings if you're in Barnet, or finding your own local Friends of the Earth group. And we're very happy to chat through any of those issues. We are having a social in a couple of weeks' time if anyone local might want to come along. Let's see if we've got any more questions. Um, I think Dave was answering a previous question. He's saying there are 4 million users, so there will definitely be some experts in there. I agree. Miranda, can you register things that you cannot photograph, e.g. bats?
Yes, you can still make those observations. Um, Obviously, they're going to be quite hard to photograph, aren't they? But there's
Mm.
also, if you record bats, because photographing them isn't the best way. I'm not sure if you might have a bat detector or if you've maybe seen them. Um, Send it directly to Giggle, send your data to us. Um, yeah, there's obviously different ways to observe different things. I've mentioned eBird because that is a website that I know a lot of the birders use, and they submit, for example, at the Welsh Harp, they submit their observations every day on there, and that's kind of um, the one that the platform that birders use to upload their data. So there is different kind of platforms for different that are preferred by different groups. Um, but yes, you can still make those observations. And like I say, if you've got lots of data collected by, say, a single survey that you've done, that's probably easier to go directly to Giggle in one of their recording forms rather than doing individual observations. So I guess it just depends what data you're collecting and how, as to what you're using. But happy to like chat further about specific examples of that,
Mm.
if that
So you
helps.
you can, I think, ID, it does ID via sound as well as pictures in the app.
Mhm.
I tried it with a bird sound recording, but it wasn't a good enough recording to pick anything up. Even I couldn't really hear it when I listened to it back. But that probably would be a bit clearer with bats, wouldn't it? And possibly, so that's something to play around with a bit more, I think, and try out whether it can work as well with sound as with photographs. And maybe if you know that you've seen a white-tailed bumblebee or a rose, and you've not got a picture, just go and try and put it in there anyway. But I think the picture, it does help because it helps with the verification process, if nothing else. Someone has said, Ketan has said They've not seen a hedgehog for years in their garden. There was an e-petition campaign to get policy changed for new builds to ensure a gap below fences to allow hedgehogs to move more freely. Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it, Keaton? Maybe, did you mention, Harry, about having little hedgehog highways and fences? Yes.
Yeah, that is something that Nathan, the ecologist in planning, has actually conditioned for some developments recently. So I don't think there's any national policy at the moment, but that is something that he is very keen on. I know I've not seen a hedgehog for a long time either, apart from photos from Donald's garden, where he seems to get a lot. Don't know if he's still on here.
He is still here. I was lucky enough to see one last year as well. Donald has a nice camera trap video that he records on his allotment, so we always get some nice treats at Barnet Friends of the Earth when he's captured something on camera. Shiri shared a link in the chat for if anyone saw the national emergency briefings that MPs were invited to at the end of last year. And the videos have now been made available for anyone to watch. And they're quite hard watching. They're good information, but difficult to hear. But Shiri's put a link to the biodiversity one in the chat. And if you click that link, then it will take you to the other videos, and I highly recommend you watch them all. I will try and remember to copy all of the chat and we will share the links afterwards. And we possibly won't share the slides because the main thing is for you just to go out and have a play with the app. So we'll send you a link to the website for you to download everything, and we'll send you the other links. But if there's anything else that you particularly wanted, then let us know. Let's see, we've got a couple more questions still coming in. How can we help develop the Barnet Local Nature Recovery Plan using iNaturalist or anything else? Dave asks.
Yes. So as I mentioned, the local nature recovery strategy is the London-wide strategy. Um, it's a bit sad, but Barnet didn't have a biodiversity action plan. Um, Not quite sure what was going on there, but we didn't have one. So we don't currently have really any policy specifically about biodiversity, but that's about to change. So now the London Local Nature Recovery Strategy is being published any day. We're going to use that as the kind of starting point for the Barnet specific local nature recovery plan. Sorry, there's lots of confusing similar names, but that's going to be Barnet specific actions and habitats and enhancements that we want to make in Barnet. And yes, Dave, using iNaturalist, getting the data to Giggle, we're going to be using Giggle for this throughout the entire process. Like I said, we have a service level agreement with Giggle, the record centre, and that allows the free exchange of data between both organisations. And part of that service level agreement is that community groups that are working with us can also access the data. So they don't just provide the data, well, they do provide the data back to you if you want, but they can also do analysis of the data. If you want to know, for example, birds of prey observations in the borough, and you want them to have a 500-meter buffer or something like that, they can do that kind of analysis, or you can overlay woodland, like badgers in woodland, or different things like that, different species and manipulation and analysis they can do. So yes, we'll be using them throughout this process. We use them all the time. Submitting records is really useful. Submitting things directly to us is also really useful. And of course, I'll be engaging once I've written it, engaging all of you, local and community groups, for your suggestions because you know these areas better than I do. And I would really love like collaboration and feedback on the strategy.
Excellent. Another couple of questions just come in. Jago said thank you. Thank you, Jago. And also that putting a brick under a fence panel is a good way to help hedgehogs. And you can buy gravel boards with a hole in. So two little good tips there. Wendy said, are there any hedgehogs in Barnet's parks? Any ever been reported?
Yes, there definitely are. I mean, the London Hogwatch project is run by London Zoo, and they're kind of, I mean, Hampstead Heath is a stronghold for them, and they are expanding their camera trap surveys north. So I know that Hampstead Garden suburb, there's quite a lot, obviously, where Donald lives, quite a lot. Up in Cherry Tree Wood, they've been spotted. I know that they are in Barnet's parks. But probably not as frequently seen as they used to be.
So more dusk walks, people. Go out for a walk at whatever, 5 o'clock, whatever it is nowadays, and you might spot one and you can try and take a picture and stick it into the iNaturalist app. Wendy said, when you put together Barnet's biodiversity policy, please can you list all of the local groups that people could join to get involved? There's a lot of groups, Wendy. It's a big borough. There's lots going on, but she says it may raise the profile for all of us. Pop into the chat what group you're from, Wendy, and then that'll give your group a little bit of a mention. But yeah, I think there is a good green spaces network in the borough, which Harriet and her team come along and feed into. So I don't know if you're able to collect a list, but it's kind of evolving, really, isn't it?
It is, Hackney have published their local nature recovery plan a couple of years ago, and they split the borough up into, I think, five nature recovery areas, and they've kind of got species, habitats, projects, and they've got a section on community action. So that's kind of how I was hoping to structure um, the the strategy for Barnet as well. So there will definitely be an emphasis on community groups and what the groups are doing for biodiversity in their area. So yeah, that's definitely something we can look at for sure.
Okay, several more questions coming in. I'm just trying to figure out the last one. Daniel rightly says hedgehog should be hibernating at the moment, so don't go for a walk now. Wait for a bit because you won't see any, but you will see other things. Um, the Hedgehog Street has a map where you can record sightings of hedgehogs, said Shiri. Yeah, that's a good one. Um, Jago worked on the RVC Hawkshead campus, I'm sure what RVC is, which was awarded silver for hedgehog friendliness. There are ramps out of pools, but I've yet to see a hedgehog on the campus, so I think more work to do. But students work with hedgehog charity. Sounds good. Um, is regular reporting of common sightings, such as foxes who live nearby, as useful as reporting all the other kind of examples you've mentioned, says Keaton.
Um, I would say all observations are useful, even if you think they might be trivial. Of course, if you're reporting a protected species within the planning application process, that might be seen as more useful because that's something that the developers have to assess during that process. But the more data, the better. So I'm not going to say it's less useful, but it depends on the situation and the context, I suppose.
Sure. Martin has said, can Barnet access iNaturalist information for planning purposes?
Yes, because the kind of data eventually goes to Giggle, um, which is the record center. So yes, that will be fed back to us.
Brilliant.
Um,
Pick it up from there.
yeah.
Um, okay. I think that might have answered Amir's question about how the council uses the records on iNaturalist. So I think it's just as it works its way up to Giggle, you will look in and look for specific information as and when you need it. Another question from me. How do you plan to engage with schools and local community groups?
Um, if you mean in terms of recording or
Hmm,
collecting data, I mean, I've done this talk to the Barnet Green Spaces Network. I've done it to you guys. I've kind of gone out and shared it in at specific sites, specific groups, just to kind of get that message of recording out there. In terms of schools, I'm not going to lie, I don't really work with schools a lot, but we do have a sustainability team who have a specific member of staff that works with schools. So I could also probably reach out to her and see if there's something we can do there about schools. Um, if
Mm.
that's the context of your question, let me know if I've not answered that.
Yeah, you did. I may have asked another question about removing observations. So if I can do my screen share in a moment, I'll show you that. It's very simple. Um, and I think another one has just come in. Did you mention that there were two boroughs that don't use Giggle? 'Cause someone said, which are the two boroughs?
I don't know if I can
Or
tell you
too
that.
controversial?
Um, I'm pretty sure from memory, Brent is one of them. Basically, the service level agreement with Giggle is about I think for boroughs it's about £5,000 a year. So it's not a huge amount, but it's not, you know, it's not nothing.
Hmm.
Um, but they are being encouraged to have this service level agreement because of, like I said, the local nature recovery strategy and that kind of London-wide approach that we're trying to take to nature recovery. It's kind of a shame that those two boroughs. Well, that was the last time I heard anyway. I'm could be completely wrong. They could have an agreement with them now.
Kath is from Enfield, so I suspect she was trying to find out if Enfield were one of them. Do you know?
Mm,
I'm not sure.
I'm
Maybe
not
we.
sure. I don't want to drop them in it.
We'll let you know if we find out, Kath.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Ruth has said, Harriet, what is the most unexpected creature that you have been told about that lives somewhere in Barnet? Good question.
I think it always surprises me that we have quite a lot of badgers in Barnet, and the records for badger are a little bit tricky because um, badgers are historically persecuted because of badger baiting. So their sets, if a location of a set is submitted to the record centre, you won't get necessarily get that data back because it's confidential. But it does always surprise me how many records of badgers we've got in the borough being being so close to London. But of course, we've got all that green belt and suitable habitat as well. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, probably that. Sorry, that's maybe not that exciting, but
I think Ruth was after the peregrine falcons on Westminster. If anyone who's not watched Wild London, the latest Attenborough programme, do watch it. It's really good. It spotted some snakes in the Regent's Canal. Who knew?
yeah.
Ruth has said, does this apply to rare plants or trees when a planning application is submitted? I'm not sure that was asked a couple of minutes ago, so I'm not sure if that was in response to a particular point that Harriet was making.
If I just go kind of talk about how the data is submitted to Giggle and how they present it, they do have lots of columns and they do have whether it's a protected species, Section 41 species, NERC species, all the kind of species that are rare and protected. There is kind of a column for that. So when they present the data back to a developer, for example, they will be able to easily see whether there's any kind of rare or protected um, species returned. And again, that should be considered in the planning application process. If that's what you mean, I hope I've answered that.
Let us know if not, Ruth. Dave has said, I'm afraid I can't pronounce that word. Can you pronounce that, Harriet, in the chat?
Maybe,
Asclepian.
yeah.
Dave, unmute if you would like to say that. I'm dyslexic and vowels are not my
Asclepian.
Asclepian. Oh, I was close.
You're very good.
Um, living
They
on the
want they
Regent's
wander into
Canal.
London Zoo.
But interestingly, they're not from London Zoo, are they?
No.
No.
Oh, free food nearby, maybe. I think that's all the questions. So if I've missed any, Ted, let me know, or if anyone else, if I've missed your question, put your hand up or type it again. But what an excellent range of questions, everyone. Like, it's really interesting conversation there. Often on webinars, you don't get any questions, but you've just been a really engaged group. So thank you very much. I will very quickly, so I'm going to shut down this. And I'm going to try and show you my project that I have for my community garden Incredible Edible Barnet. Has that now appeared?
Yes.
You've got my the website.
Mhm.
So I've not been doing it for long. I set this up. Uh, let's have a look at view all. So this is a live screen. If things go wrong, if my internet goes or something, it'll all go to pot. But we go. Let's see when my first one. Oh, June 22. Actually, I think that was something that I did. Someone else did that one. You can see the picture here is of it was Holly Pringle did that. People on the call know Holly. Um, but more recently, I've got here from July 25. And to do this, it's quite useful if you do run a project of some kind. It's quite a nice way of drawing a boundary. So you draw a physical boundary of where you would like to pick anything up. And I don't need to add it to the project. If I do an observation that's within that boundary, it automatically goes into the project. And here's the boundary that I've set. So you need to go into the iNaturalist on the website. I don't think you can do this on the app and set a place. You can only set a place when you've done 50 50 observations. So you either need to find someone to help you do it, and if anyone on the call would like some help, contact me or Harriet, and we can do that for you to set you up with a project and a place. It's a little bit fiddly. You need to connect it to Google Earth. And I've gone quite wide here. Anyone who knows the community garden that I run on Mowbray Road in New Barnet, it's this tiny little bit in the middle, but it wasn't picking everything up, so I just went a little bit wider. And these are the observations that we've done. So if I just have a look at a couple of them, you'll see, if it loads, you'll see, so I think with this brown lit snail, we can see where other ones are around London. And I would have put that in 3 months ago, and someone came along, as Harriet's shown us, and agreed with me. So at that point, it became research grade, and it went into the bigger system. So before that happens, if something isn't verified, it doesn't always feed up. So that if you've got it wrong, you've got that confidence level check from someone else verifying it for you. And I think things also only feed up if you've got these bits down here are all correct. So you've got a location, you've got the date, you've got a date filled in, and also organism is wild. So if you've just got a tomato plant that's cultivated plant in the garden, that probably wouldn't feed upwards because the iNaturalist is about looking for wild organisms that are around us. And I'm going to try and do a very quick upload. So here are all of my observations. So you'll see that only 7 of them were within the Incredible Edible Barnet project, but these are all the different ones that I've done over the years. I think I'm on 80 something. And it's because I don't know what they are. So when I take a picture, when I manage to take a picture of something in my garden or community garden or a park, I go into the app and it helps me figure out what it is. So my knowledge of what I'm seeing, both plants and animals, is increasing. There's a lot. There's thousands and thousands of plants and fungi and insects for us all to try and memorize. So that's how these technologies can help us learn. But my knowledge has definitely got better. I'm never going to be great at it, but that's the reason to use the app. So if I try, I've got all things floating on my screen. Can I upload something? I'm going to try and bring in a photo that I've got on my machine. Is that showing there? Now it's a little bit small, and this works the same on your phone, but it would fill the screen. Now I know what this is. It's just rosemary. So I could just start to type in that it's rosemary and select it. I took this picture a few days ago, and I can probably just type in my postcode or oh, actually, yeah, I've pinned a location here, which is another community garden that I do in Church Farm Open Space, and I'm clicking update, submit. It's that easy. You upload the picture, you figure out what it is, and the app will help you put in the time, put in the date, and that has now been added to my observations. Um, if I just try and quickly do another one, which I don't know what it is. I've got this tree in a local park. So if I just click load suggestions, you can see here it's trying to work out, and it's not a great picture, is it? It's like I took the full-on tree. It was an amazing tree. It was very old, and so even just having a quite far away picture, um, I do know it's a Lebanese cedar because I've researched it when I found it in the park. I didn't know it when I was there, but I did find out that that's likely to have been planted in East Finchley Cemetery. So that even though I didn't know what it was, it came up as the top suggestion. So that shows you how accurate it can be. And then if I just select that again, I'll just pop in a random date for now. And that was in East Finchley Cemetery. And if you're on your phone, you can set the GPS to find you, so it will all just happen automatically. That was the tree that I spotted, and I'm going to submit that. And someone asked about deleting, didn't they? So when that's saved, I will just go back to this observation page here is quite interesting. You get a bit more information. You can see more clearly if it needs ID, if it's been verified by someone and it's research grade. It's quite a useful way. They're color coded for what type of animal or insect that it is, or what group it's in. But if I'm here, I can probably just delete, can I? Or can I? No, I can't see delete. But if I go to my main observations and refresh, oh, it's not appeared yet. I think it's being a little bit slow to upload. So I would just literally go into it and there's a delete button. It's that easy if you think you've made a mistake. So I don't know if anyone else you want to see anything else while I'm here, but I'll just come back to the screen so I can see you all again. Hopefully that just demonstrates really quickly how easy it is, and just going out with your phone, trying to get some pictures and uploading them and just playing around with it and seeing how you get on is highly recommended. Let's see what else we've got in the chat while we're here. I think I've covered Amir's questions, but let me know if not. Harriet's popped her email in. Thank you, Harriet. And Dina would like to apply to Montrose. We can help you with that, Dina, no problem. And we're on to the thank yous. So thank you, everyone, for being here. Ted, did you want to add anything about how this might be useful for Friends of the Earth bigger picture?
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me okay? Because I've had problems with my microphone. Yeah. Yeah, I mean it looks awesome, and yeah, I'm definitely gonna download it and start capturing some pictures. Yeah, I mean, hopefully, if you're a campaigner, you can already see lots of opportunities for how you could use this app, and some things we've already been touched on in terms of things like the e-petition for hedgehogs and things like that. Essentially, when you're campaigning, data can be a really useful tool to use to help you win your campaigns, because it provides evidence for the thing that you're campaigning for, and you can use it to create stories and images as well in this case, and paint a picture of what's going on. I'm going to just do like a really quick plug for a tool that we have on our website, which is called Near You. I'll put a link to it in the chat, and you can put your postcode in, and that will bring up lots and lots of different data sets about the area that you live in. It can be really useful, really interesting, and also really useful for campaigning. And I will finish in a second, but I'll just sort of like reel off a couple of examples of the ways that you could use this data or any sort of citizen science or data in your campaigning. So you can use that to create content like social media posts or things that you could put on a website. You know, to put figures and facts and things like that into your press releases to bring them to life and stories. And you're lobbying a decision maker, you're writing them a letter, or you're having a meeting with them. You can bring some of that data into that. You can use it to make creative banners and placards for when you're going out campaigning. You can use it, as we've touched on, on things like petitions and online actions. You know, if you're having a public meeting. So yeah, there's millions of ways that you could think of lots more. But yeah, it's just such a powerful tool. So really encourage you to, yeah, you know, as you're thinking about doing a campaign around nature, and to use something like this to gather some of that data. And yeah, I'll see if I can let people yeah, get on very
Brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, completely right. And if you've got some nice pictures as well, it's always good to use the pictures on social media, like you say. Excellent. I will finish with posting into the chat the link to the Barnet Friends of the Earth group. If you're not in Barnet, then click the link and you'll be able to type in to see if there's a group near you. If there isn't, you can start one. Find some local people near you who care about the environment and are doing things locally to try and make this troubled world a little bit less troubled. And if you are local, then fill in the form and one of our coordinators will get back to you to let you know what we're up to. And if you're quick, then you might be in time to come to our social in a few weeks' time. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much to Harriet. And we're very lucky to have her in the borough, where she's a great asset to the council. And we're going to keep on trying to protect our local green spaces. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I will end the meeting.
Thank you.
And
Thanks,
see
bye.
you all soon.
Thank you all very much.
Bye.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.